Hello and welcome to the game briefing for Crabistan 2024. This slide deck will cover some general rules, safety rules, and gameplay mechanics that you will need to know in order to play in Crabistan. Eye protection. ANSI Z 8.1 rated full seal to your face glasses, goggles, or masks are required for all participants at all times during Crabistan. Mesh eyewear is not allowed, and removal of your eyewear is only permitted in the safety of your tent or in designated safe zones. Again, never remove your eye protection while on the field at Crabistan. Hydration. All players should carry at least a quart of water on them at all times, and a lack of hydration can result in discomfort during the weekend. Carry water with you on the field. No real-world weapons are allowed. This includes bladed weapons, firearms, tasers, bear spray, etc. Utility tools and knives are permitted for camping purposes, and disregarding of these rules may lead to your immediate expulsion and potential exclusion from future events. We expect everybody to comply with local, state, and federal laws while participating in our events. Campfires are allowed, so long as you use a fire ring and that a burn ban is not in effect. Always try to confirm with your faction leadership before starting a fire, and never ever leave them unattended. Alcohol in glass bottles. Intoxication is prohibited. Behave responsibly and adhere to the law to avoid ejection from the experience. Glass bottles are not allowed on the playing field due to the potential hazards that they present should they become litter. Please bag your trash during the event and deposit your trash in the dumpster or at designated trash collection points. Safety rules. There are two main callouts that you'll hear at a Mudcrab event. The first one is real world. This is for serious emergencies such as broken bones or asthma attacks. This is not for scrapes and boo-boos. The second callout is blind man. Blind man is for lost or broken eye protection. The response to both of these is the same. Take a knee, make your weapon safe, and direct admins toward the emergency if needed. Gameplay halts until a staff member, and only a staff member, calls game on. Another callout you'll hear is timeout. Timeout is for fires, unforeseen circumstances, or for resolving miscommunications. The response to timeout is to break character and resolve the issue. For example, if this was a fire, the person who accidentally started the fire would be expected to call timeout and extinguish it before it became an emergency. Play resumes when an issue is resolved. Timeout only applies to the local encounter that it is called in, so gameplay would not stop field-wide for a timeout, say, in Colville. Everyone should make sure to carry an emergency communication device of some kind. They should have shelter and a sleep system, 2 days worth of food and water, dry clothes and extra socks, a dead rag, a dead light, and a flashlight. Returning to your vehicle after game on is highly discouraged. If you do this, you will be made fun of. Gameplay rules. Outside ammunition and grenades are not allowed, with the exception of smoke grenades. All ammunition will be provided to you during the experience. Uniform requirements. All players are expected to adhere to the faction-specific uniform guidelines outlined in the faction supplement. You can find this on our website. Headgear, tops, and bottoms must comply with faction uniform guidelines. No camo patterns from after 2001 are allowed. This includes multicam, ACU, UCP, MARPAT, etc. Chest rigs, slings, and holsters may be in any color or camo at your own risk of forfeiting the impression bonus or a friendly fire. Civilian factions. Civilian players are free to seek out their own action as mercenaries, traders, couriers, smugglers, bounty hunters, or any other venture that they can create for themselves. The uniform for civilians is no camouflage patterns. This includes your headwear, tops, and bottoms. Civilians are not allowed to wear camo. The Crabistan National Army. A military faction, these players work together to defend their respective countries. They carry out missions, enforce the laws of the land, and help maintain stability in their country's economic zones. The uniform for the CNA is green-based camouflage patterns from before 2001, and olive drab and solid green uniforms also apply for this faction. The Crabrak Defense Force, also a military faction. This force can wear tan, khaki, brown, or any pre-2001 tan-based camouflage pattern. Soviet-era camo patterns are also allowed for this faction, including select green patterns. Staff interactions. Yellow bags are not in play. These are used for out-of-game purposes, and they are not lootable. Players should never interact with a yellow bag. All out-of-game staff must be identified by either a red UN hat or a reflective safety vest. While a staff member is acting out of game, they cannot be interacted with in-game, they cannot engage with gameplay mechanics, and any communication that they carry out is considered out of game. We expect players and staff to adhere to these rules. Weapons and chronograph classes. All players must chronograph and tag all airsoft replicas that they bring onto the field. All HPA and gas-powered airsoft systems must chronograph using 3-2s, and they must be tournament locked. This is the chronograph chart for this year's event. Some important things to note are minimum engagement distance, building restriction, and rounds per second. The submachine gun class is a new class this year. It shoots at 1.14 joules. It must be a replica of a weapon that uses pistol caliber rounds, and it has an MED of 20 feet if full auto. This weapon can also not exceed 30 rounds per second. The rifleman class shoots at 1.5 joules and is not allowed to use full auto. The DMR class shoots at 1.88 joules, has an MED of 50 feet, it is building restricted, and it must be incapable of full auto fire. It must also possess a scope. Squad support weapons shoot at 1.88 joules. They must be a real LMG replica, and they have an MED of 50 feet, as well as a building restriction. They cannot exceed 30 rounds per second. Snipers shoot at 2.18 joules. They have an MED of 100 feet. They are building restricted, and they must be bolt or single action and incapable of semi or full auto fire. Orange smoke is not allowed for players. Grenades have a kill radius of 15 feet from impact, and BBs that are ejected from a grenade count as hits. 40mm shower shells also have an MED of 30 feet, and any launchables have an MED of 100 feet. Radios and communication equipment. No outside radios are allowed for general players. Some radios may be obtained through in-game activities, or will be provided through specific player roles. These radios are marked by game staff. Use of a player's radio is permitted when they are bleeding out or deceased, but the radios themselves are not lootable. Player passport IDs. Each player receives an in-game ID at check-in that details their faction and some basic character information. These IDs are crucial for in-game character verification and may be required to cross borders or participate in special events. Losing your ID is not acceptable. IDs are not lootable. You can get ammunition through the various traders in Crabistan and Crabrak, or ammunition is issued through the chain of command. Ammo comes in different weights and is sold as either heavy or light ammunition, with the weights denoted on the baggie. Crabtonium. Crabrak harbors a very valuable natural resource called crabtonium. This resource can be found in the rivers and streams of northeast Crabrak. Crabtonium is highly sought after, but its export from Crabrak is illegal for individual citizens. Medical supplies. Medical supplies are symbolized by water bottles marked with special stickers, and they can be acquired through in-game means. The medical section will detail more on how to use medical supplies, but certain traders have the ability to produce medical supplies using raw bark pucks, another in-game item. Raw bark pucks come from the trees and are identified by their unique brown color. These are round wooden pucks and can be discovered on the ground or near trees in specific densely wooded areas. Some traders can turn these raw bark pucks, as mentioned, into medical supplies. Muck bean sprouts. These sprouts naturally grow in northwestern Crabistan and are represented by paracord in a distinct color. These sprouts can be found on the bushes and in the trees in specific densely wooded areas. Certain Crabistani traders utilize these muck bean sprouts to produce muck beans. Muck beans are presented in bags and should not be removed from their container. This substance is highly sought after by traders in Crab Rack due to its illegal status. Traders in Crab Rack are willing to pay generously for muck beans smuggled into the country. Claws. In-game currency known as claws can be earned through various in-game activities. Claws can be exchanged for goods and services within the game. For purchasing merchandise from our on-site vendor X Customs, please bring USD or your debit or credit card. Goats, a new addition this year. This is an in-game livestock. They can be obtained through in-game activities. A goat consists of 3 parts: the body, the meat, and a balloon, all of which must be intact for the goat to be considered alive. The meat and the body of a goat are lootable and tradable separately, and players may eat the goat meat if they desire. Every player at Crabistan starts with a firearms permit unless they have purchased an unarmed civilian ticket. Players with firearms permits will have a different color wristband than players without. Exchanging or removing these wristbands is against the rules. Players without a firearms permit risk in-game consequences if they are caught taking up a firearm, and they are not allowed to bring their own airsoft replicas into the game. Firearms permits are only meant for airsoft replicas and do not have anything to do with actual firearms. Poisons. In-game poison will be represented by staff-generated stickers that have the details of the poisons printed onto the sticker themselves. Consuming an item with the poison sticker on it will affect the player accordingly. Ignoring the effects of a poison is against the rules. Combat and medical. Sportsmanship. This is an honor-based system, and failure to call your hits may result in expulsion from the event. Battles are chaotic. We all should practice good sportsmanship and show grace to our fellow players. Violence, insults, and non-consensual physical touch is grounds for expulsion. We do not tolerate bad vibes. Getting hit. If you are hit by a BB, immediately call hit. If tapped with a foam melee weapon, take the hit silently. Upon being hit or meleeed, you enter a bleeding out state for 10 minutes. Lay or kneel and display your dead rag, and do not engage in communication other than to call for a medic. If you are not revived within 10 minutes, you are considered dead. Stay at your location for another 10 minutes to allow looting. No communication or interaction with live players is allowed. After your death timer expires, the only way to re-enter play is by returning to your designated faction respawn point. Respawn points will be clearly marked, and typically these will be either your forward operating base, faction headquarters, or some other landmark. Buddy Revive. A player who is still bleeding out can be revived by wrapping a bandage of at least 3 feet in length around their arm, or by using a Milsim West style tourniquet. Anyone can administer Buddy Aid to heal a player who is bleeding out. You do not have to be a medic in order to administer Buddy Aid. A player may be Buddy Revived a maximum of 2 times, or once per each arm. Do not remove the bandages at your fob or respawn because they persist even through death. Medics and Doctors. Medics and doctors can use medical supplies on a player who is healthy, aka not bleeding out or dead. Again, these medical supplies are represented by specially marked water bottles, and when a medical supply is applied to a player, that player must drink the entire bottle of water and then hand it back to the medic or doctor giving the supply. This action removes any bandages or tourniquets on their arms and allows them to be buddy revived on those arms again. Again, this is the only way to remove bandages after you've been buddy revived. Looting. All lootable in-game items must be stored in external pockets, pouches, or bags. These items should not be kept inside personal areas such as tents, and only in-game items may be looted. Respect everybody's personal property. Ammunition stored in baggies or speed loaders may be looted, and ammunition stored in magazines may not be looted. To loot a player must declare that they're searching the target. If the target player decides that they consent to a physical search, the searching player may search all external pockets, pouches, or bags. If the target player does not consent to a physical search, the searching player must verbally communicate what specific items they are looking for and the target player must hand over those specific items requested. Generalizations are not allowed, so saying hand over all lootable items is not a specific request. You must request the specific items you are looking for, and only the specific items that you are looking for. Players may not only conceal game items on their person, they may also conceal them in vehicles as well. These items can only be smuggled in areas that are visible without modifying the vehicle. Modifying the vehicle would include, for example, removing a vent cover or a door panel. An exception to this would be dedicated storage compartments such as spare tire areas, the glove box, consoles, or things that can't be locked. Be aware that in-game vehicles can be searched in all areas mentioned here at any time, and the occupants of those vehicles may be searched as well. Radiation. This is a new addition for the game this year. Radiation zones are marked on the map and denoted by yellow caution tape. A player must be wearing a respirator or ANSI-rated gas mask in order to enter these zones. If a player enters the zone without a respirator or a gas mask, they are immediately wounded. The radiation zone contains lost supply caches which can be found and looted. Radiation gas attacks are denoted by orange smoke. A player must be wearing a respirator or ANSI-rated gas mask in order to enter the smoked area. If a player enters a smoked area without a respirator or a gas mask, they are immediately wounded. Border crossings. Players can legally cross the international border at designated checkpoints. At these checkpoints, players seeking to cross will have their passport ID inspected. Approval to cross will be recorded on the passport upon verification, and the same process applies for exiting the country. Failure to adhere to the border laws may lead to in-game consequences. Passport stamps are valid for 2 hours. Special mechanics permits. Exceptions can be made to the rules in the spirit of a more immersive and entertaining experience. Any deviation of the rules mentioned here, such as for using a weapon in an unlisted way or approval of a vehicle that does not meet the 2001 standard, will be documented on a staff-provided form signed by the admins before the game. This player must carry the paper on them at all times, as it will detail the limitations and privileges of the exception. At the end of the event, be sure to attend the closing ceremonies. Some transportation will be available to the parking area, but if you need to walk off early, you are more than welcome to leave. Verified vehicles may enter the field at scheduled times to assist with takedown. Be sure to turn in all in-game props to your designated faction NPC at the closing ceremonies. Dispose of all trash at the designated trash zones, and ensure that all campfires are extinguished and fire rings removed. Please return any D-Day fire rings to the field entrance. And that's it for the game briefing for Crabistan 2024. Thank you guys so much for coming to our event. If there's any additional information that needs to be relayed to you, it will be done so via an admin after this video or through your chain of command or faction leadership. Please be sure to get in touch with your faction leadership after this briefing. Thank you so much, be safe, and have fun.